Gonna work on refurbishing this old Jersey pattern axe head. Jerseys are my favorite pattern, and I have never owned, or actually I own some, but I've never hung a head with these phantom bevels. And I've seen some stuff on, various axe discussions on the internet about the pros and cons of the phantom bevel, and I'm curious about it. And usually that means it's an old head and may indicate, in my experience, the old heads are high quality, and I paid a couple of bucks for this at a garage sale, so there's not really a lot that can go wrong. In terms of condition, I mean, it's obviously very rusty. I cannot see a stamp on either side. Both cheeks are very pitted. The entire head is very, very pitted. And I would say if it had a stamp, the stamp has rusted away. And I don't really care about that stuff. I love axes, but I'm not a brand collector. I like Jersey patterns over and above any other axe. I typically only use Jersey patterns for like felling and working in the woods. So it's got some issues. Obviously there's a lot of pitting, but the edge is very dull. It's basically rounded over, so by the time you get this sharp, that pitting near the bit is going to be gone. Okay, so yeah, I'm just going to work on sort of these mushroom spots real quick, and I'm also going to try. Stephen Edholm had an interesting discussion on his Husqvarna multi-purpose forest axe, where he was talking about rounding over the inside of the lugs here to try and get a better hang, and I'm gonna play around with that. I've never done that before, or ever thought about doing that before, but you know what, I'll give it a try. This is an old head, and I know I can make this head work. I know I can turn this into a good user. I did most of that filing off of the mushrooming, and I think somebody at least once got this sucker really stuck, because there's a whole lot of hammering on this, like on, there was a lot. This was very mushroomed, the whole top of the eye, and if you look at the pole, there's actually a flat here and a here that are beveled, and there's actually a mushroom on, both flats, poking into the pole versus like where you normally see. So somebody, had this jammed in, and they were pounding on it from both sides and underneath to try and unstick it. And yeah, I'd say either they got it stuck a bunch of times, or they got it stuck really bad once and then just really wailed on it. And there was actually, which I hadn't noticed before, a lot of mushrooming right here on the underside of the eye, right at where the bit and the eye join. This was rather badly mushroomed on both sides, so like someone was hammering into this, at an angle, trying to unstick it, I would say, coming in this way. What a mess. So I actually had to get in there with this rat tail and clean that out. Because, I mean, when you're trying, that's actually a pretty terrible place all along here to have this mushroomed. And when you're looking at these old heads, like, the abuse that they've taken is really the thing to consider. Because if they've deformed the eye, or if, and then if you're fitting this, when you want to hang it, you really have to clean up the eye on the inside, so that you can get a good fit, because if you're trying to fit a handle and there's a protrusion, especially on this underside, that's going to totally screw up your hang. Well, I took it to my bench grinder, and I took the rust off both sides. down a little bit just to save my files a little bit. So this is basically kind of my filing setup. I have, well, a leather glove underneath the head, and then I have it C-clamped to my little bench here, and then I just take a permanent marker in some dark color, especially on the rusty heads like this. Permanent marker like black or blue shows up the best, I think. Red works pretty good and green works pretty good on like bright metal, but not so much on the rust. But anyway, whatever you got is gonna work, you know. And so then you just file off the marker. So I've been doing that initial filing here, and actually the rust was heavy enough that I still had a lot to get through on the back edge of where I wanted to knock down, and so I actually moved up to horseshoe rasp just to get into it. Gloves, good idea. Don't do what I just did. Not that this is sharp yet, but so I raised a burr down here, and actually right here, still don't have a burr here in the middle, but that's yeah, that's all I'm gonna do with this. This is a great tool. So that's pretty much it. It's done filing. It's not sharp, but it's to a place where I've taken the edge down to bare metal. I've got it to a profile I want on the cheeks. And I'm pretty much gonna just leave it. As far as I'm concerned, this is done until it's hung. And then I will put a final hone on it and, you know, put it to work. There's, you know, there's a little rough there. not bad. Little rough, but this is, you know, this head, I think maybe somebody left it laying on the ground outside or something, because, you know, on this side, because of how much more pitted this is, there's like a really deep something right there. But yeah, so I'm just gonna so this is just linseed oil and beeswax. Just gonna smear some on the outside of the head here, and not on the inside. I don't want to grease the eye, but just to stabilize this rust a little bit, as far as I'm concerned, and keep that area that on the bit that I've honed or filed, not honed, in a condition to be honed. And yeah, there we go. So that's it. That's pretty much all I see needing to be done on this head until after it's hung. And yeah, so that's all I need. I think that's all it needs. And then we can put a final hone on it, and it'll be ready to start doing some work. Certainly seems like fairly soft steel. It filed quite easily, I would say. So we'll see how the edge retention is under use. But yeah, I don't think that's bad looking. That's a work axe, right?